Welcome to Seven Trumpets Prepper, and guys, welcome to part 4 of the Flat Earth Under the Firmament series. Now, in this video, I want to talk with you about the weather in the world and how that, a lot of people ask questions about how in the world does, the weather patterns work, and, how come things spin one way on one side of the earth and then spin differently on the other, and how do the clouds not go off the edge? That's a great question. I mean, all this stuff, I'm going to answer it for you. The first thing is that I always try to present you tools because I'm fighting science with science, because, science to people is a religion, which we're going to cover in part 5. But anyway, the best one I could find is I wanted a 3D weather model so that we could all look at this together. Earth.nullschool.net is a good one that I found that will actually help me accomplish what I'm seeking to show you. This is the map that, anybody that follows my channel knows that I have a map similar kind of to this on my wall that I've set and done a multitude of videos in front of. It's my map I've kept pins in of where I've traveled the world. Well, with that said, the first thing I want to do is look on this map for a minute, and I'm going to take you to a flat earth map, by the way, here in just a second. But I wanted to show you this with the contour, everything in place. Is as you can see right here, this is a hurricane that is leaving right now. I just experienced the backlash of that hurricane working down in the tropics, doing a solar install. And as you can see, the pattern, the rotation is counterclockwise. Well, over here in the Pacific, as you can see right here, it's counterclockwise as well. Okay? Now, we're going to back up out of this, and I want you to keep in mind that you see all this going on, it's just like winds blowing here, there, a little bit everywhere. Well, if you click over here on the side, we want the azimuthal equidistant map, and forgive me if I did not say that right. It's now my background equidistant map. I'm sorry, yeah. It's background on my computer now. I replaced the original background that I had and everything. Can't have that up there no more. I've got to replace it on a couple of my phones too, because can't be having that curvature lie anymore. So anyway, once we change that to the AE, which represents that map that I just showed you now, what you have is under the dome on this flat circular disc in which that we all dwell, that Master Yahweh has created, we can see now that the weather makes a lot more sense, because here we have a lot less weather pattern near the outer edge of the planet. I'm sorry, the world. And actually, I just messed up right there. Forgive me. Give me just a second. Reset that back. Okay, so anyway, as you can see right here now, it makes a lot more sense because the weather patterns are in a circuit. Now, many people may be like, well, this doesn't prove anything to me. Well, for those that have taken the time to do their due diligence and study the book of Enoch, which I'm going to cover more thoroughly in another topic coming up, which the book of Enoch, if you don't have a copy of it, I strongly encourage you to get it and read Master Yahweh's Word. If there's anybody that's ever seen Flat Earth and been taken to and fro and shown it, it's definitely Enoch in his day, in his writings, and he describes the circuit of the moon and sun, which we'll also be covering in another subject, and day and night, because I know a lot of you guys have had questions about that, is that as you can see in the this model, the 4 angels that hold the 4 winds back, especially in Revelation, we see those writings. It makes a lot more sense as a person begins to look at this, because now everything is in its place. These weather patterns here, everybody talks about, that hurricanes spin one way on one side of the planet and typhoons spin an opposite direction. Well, we've just demonstrated right there that they are obviously spinning the exact same direction. So that's a lie. And as you see that, the weather continues around the globe in its circuit, and everything's contained in under the firmament. And when you look at it in that manner, everything comes full center as far as weather patterns go, and it makes perfect sense at that point. And now when you take a normal map, let me go back to the one that I prefer to use whenever I'm looking at the false Earth map. If you look at it like this, it's just a jumbled up mess, and it doesn't make a bit of sense whatsoever, because you just have weather patterns all over the place, and people have to wrap their head around it with, well, it's on a globe, then it starts to make sense. No, what it is these weather systems and all this stuff, when it's put into a circular course on its circuit within a circular disk under the firmament, this makes a lot more sense now, because the weather patterns follow. Look at it, you can see the rings, lighter weather, the more interior you go, you can see a lot more activity in the weather, and then you have the continents. I mean, it brings it all front and center. And that's how clouds don't go off the edge, is because, number one, is everything's contained in this dome. You're not getting out, and neither is the weather. The windows of heaven, we see in the writings of Henoch that, there's good weather, there's bad weather, that the seasons change, and all these things are controlled by the Most High. And as the weather does go forward, as we're going to view in another video, how that day and night works, as the moon and the sun are rotating around in their course and their circuit, turning within the earth above, but under the firmament, under the dome. Then part of the earth is lit, part of the earth is dark. And a great video reference to this that I'm actually just going to bring up and share with you, where you can go over and view it, is Rob Skiba has done a great presentation on that, as that I began looking into the proper course of the sun and moon. I'm going to definitely share that information with you. But if you take and you plug that in with the weather, just the course, the transit of the sun and moon, you take that into account for the rocket launch video that I was speaking about the other day. On a globe, one side of the globe at that time, the sun would be on this side, the moon on the back side. They're launching a rocket out forwards off the planet toward the sun. They should not have been able to see the moon on the other side, but yet on a flat earth, when launching that rocket up, and over here, the moon was over here toward Australia at the time, the sun over here. On a flat earth, you get high enough, there you go, you can see both of them because you're above the horizon far enough, and then makes sense. Well, just going back to the weather here, if you get high enough up into the air, with people have done weather balloon experiments and like manner and such, what happens is once you get high enough, the winds above are extremely high. And we also, you can see this with the Red Bull, the jump that the guy done from extremely high altitude in space. I watched him going back down, and you could see the G's, and you could see the different areas in which that once he was decreasing in altitude back down to the planet, or to the flat Earth disk that we live on, you could see how there was monumental shifts in the wind pattern and so on throughout that course. And the same thing applies to the weather balloons and so on. Once they've gotten so high, you can see them tumble to and fro because the wind is just so intense. And, that wind is moving all these weather patterns around within the firmament. It's not a globe that we live on. And if you apply the principles of the rocket launch the other day, you apply the principles of the airplane flights the other day, all these scientific evidences of materialistic scientific things that we use every day to apply to a globe model, if you apply that to a flat circular Earth disk in which we live, it all starts to come full circle, no pun intended, that something is not right with what people is telling us is truth. And the biggest one that should resound out right there is, one that I know many people would throw up in somebody's face whenever discussing, whether or not that it's true about, the weather going in a circuit, is if you just take into account hurricane weather patterns and typhoon weather patterns, you can see the spin that, and especially on this model, it's a great model, and the links in the video description below, is you can see how that the corkscrew to these, here's actually another one forming at this current time in the Pacific, that they're all spinning in the same direction. Actually, it seems like right down here that another one's trying to form in the Atlantic almost too. But, this ice wall that surrounds us at the edge of the firmament, and then of course we're under the dome, all this is contained. And, Master Yahweh's in control of it all, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to open your eyes to the fact that all this is going to continue to be hidden from you until you do your due diligence and seek these things out to see if they be so. So in next video, we're going to be discussing whether you serve Master Yahweh or you serve NASA, because that's going to be the context of the next video, and then from there we're going to get into a lot more deeper topics such as satellites and etc., as that you'll find those do not exist, but that's a topic for a future video. So until we see you again here at Seven Trumpets Prepper Channel, I hope this is a help to you, and I hope you have a most blessed day in Yahushua's name.